Hello, I'm Owen. I am the GMBN mechanic. I've been a World Cup mechanic in the past for about 3 years, a couple of different teams, and we're here at Fort William to look at prototypes, the amazing custom paint jobs. Let's go find the hottest tech. Here we are at Norco Factory Racing. This is a prototype race bike, very fancy tech on it, so we'll just kind of quickly dive through. So it's a high pivot, lots of adjustment on the shock. This one's running an air shock, but you can run a coil on it as well. It's got built-in mounts for data acquisition, which is the hot take here at Fort William. Rear end of the bike is super interesting. Not only the high pivot, which is really cool, and the low linkage, but there's a fixing plate in between the two sides of the swing arm. I think it's to do with kind of balancing stiffness on the back, so maybe it's slightly adjustable. We've seen that on another couple of other bikes. It's got adjustable rear geometry. I say rear geometry, so the bottom bracket to drop out, so effectively like the wheelbase can be lengthened. So yeah, lots of exciting tech. And big thing, metal bike again. So, just been past a really big SRAM sponsored team and seen a really secret break. Very interesting. Just walking past Cube Factory Racing here, looking at their really incredible paint jobs, all just kind of like tipping to sort of like tipping their hat to the nation's flag. So there's some really amazing one here for Danny Hart in a kind of like blue and red theme. Hello, Thibaut.
Hello. Nice.
So we're here at Fort William. We're at Worlds. You've raced here quite a bit before. I think the Commencal Supreme is like made for big tracks like this. Have you done anything special to the bike to set it up for Worlds?
Yeah, for sure. The bike is amazing on every track, not just on this track, but for sure we prepare a lot this race, as like the other races. But for sure we work a lot the last few weeks, and I feel like my bike really suits the track and suits me very well, so I'm really stoked about that, and I feel like it's going super fast. It's a pure rocket.
Awesome. So in terms of like tweaks that you might have done compared to some of the other, well, I'm saying tighter tracks, I'm assuming it's just super fast. From other riders we chatted to, it's just really fast here. So in terms of those changes to maybe like wheelbase, or like, I don't know, maybe you're changing bar width, going to a wider bar or a narrow bar, what are you able to talk us through some of those changes?
Yeah, the track is less rough than before, so it's still pretty much rocky all the way down, but I don't know, they put a lot of gravel and it's way better. Okay. So yeah, the bike, we try to make it the fastest we can without losing too much traction, so we have some little secret stuff, but for sure we have the tires, the Taki-chan, which is super good, the wheels just make it a bit tighter to going fast, and yeah, the suspension a bit stiffer, and yeah, a bit of magic and it's ready to go fast.
Okay, so we've just wrapped up with Thibaut, a really good chat with him about how he set up his bike for Fort William Worlds, and we've got not his bike just behind us, and there's some subtle features that are on this production bike that aren't, or he's got a different version on his race bike. So the key features on this race bike is that it's got this active 6-bar linkage, so there's lots of links going on, and essentially we're driving the shock up here. And on Thibaut's bike, essentially all those bits work the same, but there's some magic, that's his words, magic going on in the centre section. So personally, I'd like hazard a guess that maybe this floating jockey wheel, which changes how much the sort of like pedal feedback happens in the system, is very different. And I think maybe they have an active 6th link, so maybe it's sort of semi-active suspension. Okay, so we're zooming in to Thibaut's saddle just here. It's a physique prototype saddle. It's pleated. We've seen these before in the downhill world, most famously on one of Sam Hill bikes. It's actually from the motocross world. So pleated saddles, they use it when it's really muddy conditions. So chatting to Thibaut and his mechanic, they use this for a bit of extra grip and extra feel when they're racing. So really interesting feature. Another feature, this is the production bike, and we can see the feature, some bits are hidden on Thibaut's actual race bike, is this flex link just in here. So this one is, we assume, a sort of small. Even on the production bikes you can change the rear triangle stiffness, So it's a feature that loads of other bikes have now got. But yeah, Commencal started it. So it's interesting to see where that prototype bike of Thibaut eventually ends up for production. We're here on the Cotic stand with Sai with a steel downhill bike, which is very exciting. Sai, can you tell us a little bit about, is this Neko Mulally's bike?
Yeah, this is Neko Mulally's spare race bike for this week. So this is a Frameworks racing bike that I engineered the steel version of the front triangle.
Okay, so the first version that Neko was running was an aluminium one, and you've stepped in and switched it to steel. So lots of people have got loads of opinions on steel, and I feel like sometimes they're often wrong, but I feel like you're the expert on this one. So what was the sort of like the reasoning and logic story of switching?
Partly because Neko's trying out like lots of different things for this project. You know, he's tried out like a low pivot, a high pivot, like he's tried out a whole bunch of stuff. So the idea was we'd do a steel version.
Effectively not playing with geometry, you're doing like a back-to-back just material test.
That was exactly it. I got all of the pivots, all of the geometry, and I just engineered a Reynolds 853 version of their version 1 frame, mainly for durability, but we're obviously interested to know about the feel.
Okay, so it's same as the aluminium version 2, but steel front end.
Yes.
We've just chatted with Sai about your bike, about it now being fabricated out of steel front end versus being fabricated out of aluminium. And I just wanted to chat with you about how you feel the changes are and what changes you've done to the bike to race it here. We've heard you've had not necessarily the best leading to the race, but yeah, tell us what you feel the differences are between the two materials.
Yeah, I broke my pelvis in March, so I've only been back for about a month, but I was really happy to be able to be out there. And with that, I haven't been able to pick apart every fine detail, so I've just gone for a setup that's consistent and comfortable for me to ride. But the steel material, it has like a quality where it absorbs vibrations and like just has a more calm feel on the trail, which I think here at Fort William is amazing. Every rider is looking for that. So yeah, the bike works amazing. I didn't back-to-back it. I have only a short practice, but I'm super happy with the way the performance is, and the bike's working really well. I'd say this year with the changes to the track, it's running faster, the speed's higher. So normally I run a 550 spring and I've gone to a 575. So it's a little bit firmer. And I feel like with the track being smoother, I don't need quite as much compliance on those mid-stroke hits, and I can get the bike to sit higher and be more efficient and faster on the track.
Hello, we're here with Sam Blenkinsop. Hello. You're going to talk us through some of your details of this great Crestline bike. Tell me more.
Yeah, basically this is the Crestline downhill bike. It's one of 50 frames that they made, so it's like they only did 50 frames, so there's probably only 40 that were sold. Working with Cascade components, so they did all the linkage and all the kinematics, so it's kind of like, in a way, it's like having my own prototype bike. Yep. I can change things quite easily.
So you've got different links that you can switch in for different tracks?
Yeah, I've got there's a standard link. I had another one that I've been running the other season, for the other start of the season, and then this weekend they made another one for me that I felt like I needed, because the old one that I had was like, had more travel, so it was like near 220 mil travel, and then I like that same feeling, so they made this one like 200, but then the same sort of feeling, so it's like more, it's not so deep into the travel, you know, so it's not so long. It kind of feels like it ramps up a little bit more.
And do you notice the difference of the idler? Because I think you used to run that on previous team bikes for a while, so you're used to that high pivot feel, I guess, through the pedals? Yeah,
well, this is a different feel. Like the other high pivots I've ridden they don't turn very well. Okay. They struggled a lot, and then once I got on this bike, I was like, oh, I can turn again. And it feels like I could actually rip turns, so it's like a game changer in that way. But
and I've noticed just here, we've got signature brakes for you. That's pretty rad. Have you had signature brakes before?
We've had our names on them and stuff, like when I've been on other brands and stuff, but it's pretty cool having my signature on the brake. And they're doing another custom brake coming up, I think, for the rest of the season, but I have to wait and see. But working with brands that I like working with, that's kind of where I'm at now. So obviously with SR Suntour, it's like I pit out of here and do all my stuff in here, and I'm my own mechanic and everything, so it's kind of cool. I love racing, and I like working with brands that want to work with me and kind of grow with them. And
Okay, well, thanks very much. Awesome to see another bike. I'm not allowed to say awesome, so I'll have to edit that. Think of another word instead of awesome and I can close out.
radical.
So this is the all-new bike from Paule. So it's not Paule. It means pedal in Finnish. Completely new design of kinematics. And this is almost a testbed bike. So there's going to be a production bike out in Finland from September. So look out for that. You can see it's machined out of aluminium. There's also offset cups for the headset, which will change the front center. There's also some very trick crowns here, which mean that you can adjust some of the reach there as well. And yeah, full aluminium race bike, machined from one block. Stunning. We're here just outside Santa Cruz Pits, which is a place of lots of winning, and we're here with Husky. Got a couple of questions. So we've got this amazing paint job. I say amazing too often, but it's completely valid for this bike. It's got a beautiful colour fade from like a deep navy, almost purple at the top to a light blue. But what other tricks are underneath the paint and with setup just for Worlds here at Fort William?
Yeah, well, it's a full carbon fibre bike. It's still like a prototype bike. It's not been released yet. But yeah, we've just been working on a few different layups really with rear ends and that. The front's pretty much fixed. But yeah, bit of tweaking on suspension setup for Laurie just to get him to feel comfortable with his bike.
Awesome, thank you very much. The world's fastest mechanics bike. So Ant-Man, who spanners for Forbidden, this is his race bike. It's as yet unnamed race bike for Forbidden. So it's got the high pivot witchcraft, which they're famous for on their trail bikes. It's got a multi-link system in there, so it's not a single pivot like their earlier bikes. And then everything else is very stealthy, very fast bike. Let's go and find some more fast bikes. This is the hottest bike here. And at the moment, it's nameless. It's a Mondraker prototype, so it might be a Suminum, or it might be their new DH bike. We don't know the name yet. What we do know is it's packed full of tech stuff. Adjustable headsets is something that Mondraker have done for a while, so you can adjust the reach, you can adjust the head angle, all of those really useful things if you're a racer wanting to set your bike up as best you can. So other stuff we've seen on other race bikes is adjustable sort of like stiffness sections here to alter how stiff the rear triangle is. So that alters how a racer can kind of like push the bike through a turn. Probably the biggest feature on here, actually there's two, which are kind of hidden from your view, but the bottom bracket is actually bolted in. And initially you might kind of find that a little bit odd, but what's incredible about that, it means that Mondraker have got custom bottom bracket shells, and that means that they can change the front center, so that's the sort of the feel of the bike from the bottom bracket all the way to the front axle, but likewise they can make changes to the rear geometry of the bike, the length of the chainstay, virtually speaking, without changing any of the suspension kinematics. So you can go really systematically through adjusting your bike and deciding on what you want from the bike, and it will be a production bike with all these features. You can do it. It's not a test sled, it's going to be a production race bike with, I think, the most adjustment I've seen this side of a mid-90s Intense. So we're going to dive into loads more detail about how they developed this bike with, well, he's not just the race mechanic, he's also the man behind Sprung Suspension, so you might have got your shock tuned by him, but Jake Island, he's helped develop this bike from the tyres up. Let's go and chat with him. So we've got a bolt-in section here, and so what do those bolt-in sections do? We'll do a hanging mic.
So there are three braces. One goes under here that's missing on this bike, this back one, and then top one. But yeah, the idea with that is each brace does a different type of stiffness effectively. Obviously we've got Ellie on the team who's like 50 kilos, and Brook who's a unit. So we need like, part of the idea of why the bike is so adjustable is we want a race bike that's going to be how we want it on every track, but also to deal with every rider.
Okay, deep tech here, fans. So this is bolting on weights, which change unsprung mass versus sprung mass, which is like a wonderful rabbit hole that we can fall into. We'll do a light version here.
Yeah, they basically slide up the down tube, bolt in, So they're hidden. You won't know if we're running them or not.
That's all the kind of technical detail from Jake, from this sort of like tire up of how it's a fast bike. And now we're going to chat to a really fast rider, Brook Macdonald. So we talked through all these changes with Jake, and I guess my question to you is how does all that adjustment work for you in getting you to go so fast? And have you made any changes here specifically for Fort William?
Obviously, from what we come from last year, we didn't have much adjustability on that bike, and coming to something like this with so much adjustability, it's been a lot of work to get the bike to somewhat comfortable. We've probably only had 15-16 days max on it, so we haven't had a whole lot of time on this bike, but yeah, I feel like I just hop on the bike and ride it.
So you're the reason why it goes so fast. So no, that makes sense. I guess for you, you've been to Fort William a lot. Like maybe you were here in 07?
08.
08, okay.
Yeah, so like, what's that, like 13 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a long time.
And how, like, it feels like lots of conversation here has been, we haven't yet done a course walk, but what's the track like compared to previously, and how does it still feel like this big burly Fort William?
To be honest, I was actually saying the other day, like, this track now is probably like the first time I come here, and in between those 13 years of racing here, they always do a small amount to the track, but not as much as what they've done now, and I feel like it's just a whole new revamped Fort William, so it's actually probably running the best it's ever run. And I think the biggest thing that we're working through now is obviously going from practice runs to qualifying runs, is just finding the perfect setup, because like for example today, obviously I didn't push as hard as I did in practice as in quali, and yeah, had a small washout, so there's some things that we can change for that to make me feel a bit more comfortable and being able to attack more on the bike. So yeah, like you said, we've got so much to adjust, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at with the bike, and yeah, we can only work on it more and progress over the season.
Awesome, thank you so much. Wow, for me there was a lot of tech. Brought back a lot of memories of spannering back in the day, the pressure, the build-up of the day. Lots of tension building up for qualies, even more for race runs. And yeah, incredible to see the bikes just so adjustable. So many different sections of a bike that you can tweak now. Not just playing with tyre pressure and shocks, but the whole geometry of a bike that you can move on the fly. I mean, I've got my favourites, but which bikes are your favourites? Comment below, please.